Okay, so it is now my pleasure to introduce Jesse DesRosier. Jesse is a member of the Blackfeet tribe of Montana. He attended Nitsi'powahsinksimsstaa, or the Cutswood School, the Blackfeet immersion school for children's aged K to 8, grades K to 8. After graduating from Browning High School, he spent 4 years in the United States Marine Corps. Currently, he's a student here at the University of Montana, where he recently founded the Sacred Roots Language Society, which is a student organization whose focus is to promote the awareness and importance of Indigenous languages. So Jesse will be talking to us today about Nitsi'powahsinksimsstaa, thinking in the language. Please join me in welcoming Jesse DesRosier.
We get 2 introductions today. As I stated before my prayer, Hokiniksukweks, Kitkanensimatsinohpua, Iksiksimatsinohpua, Siksiksimatsitak tutuswa anuksiskanatani, Ikitamiksistiko, Nistuanakokesnepui, Tumpatutum Skapipikani, Siksiketstapianu Kuan, Tumpatutu. I like to introduce myself in a way that I was taught from my ancestors. You know, anything less than that is kind of dishonoring the teachings that I was given. But what I stated is, good morning, all my relatives. Good afternoon. It's a wonderful day today. The sun has risen. I thank you all for coming, and it's a big honor for me to be in front of you today. My name is Asinepui in my language, which means Cree speaker, although I'm not a Cree person or a Cree speaker. It's the name of my ancestors. I'm Skapipikani, our Southern Spotted Robe people, in Siksikatsitapi, the Blackfoot Confederacy. Fortunately, when I was a child, I was able to attend Blackfeet Immersion School in Nitsi'powahsinksimsstaa, which means the Real Speak School on our reservation, and I'll explain somewhat how that came to be and my mentors who gave me this opportunity. I titled this lecture or talk or discussion Nitsi'powahsinksimsstaa, which means thinking in the language. You know, whenever I have a question or problems, I always refer to my language because it's so much more descriptive. You know, and although I'm a student at the university, I'm still struggling with these big words, so sometimes when I say a big Indian word, they kind of think I'm important. Nitsi'powahsinksimsstaa, which means thinking native. The word Nitsi'tapi is the word that my people referred to ourselves and all the indigenous peoples of this continent. Prior to 1492, we knew where we come from. We knew our being as human beings. We knew ourselves as Nitsi'tapi and real people. And the word simstat is the powerful action that comes before words, that comes before you do things, and becomes before you do habits. I mean, when people pray, they often pray for good thoughts or pure thoughts, because that's the start of everything. So I like to say Nitsi'powahsinksimsstaa is like thinking like a human being, you know, with respect and love for everything. This all is possible from my mentor, the late Apinakwapit, Daryl Robes Kip. And as I'd always say, I look out and I see the greatest group in front of me right now, so I know this is a good meeting. The dream of the immersion school in Browning, Montana was modeled after the Hawaiians and their immersion schools. And it started with Daryl. He was a product of public school education in Browning, Montana, and later attended college. He was a veteran, and he later graduated from Harvard. And when he returned home to Browning, he noticed a lot of social problems and things of the sort that you see on reservations, you know, low poverty line. But one question he had was, how many speakers do we have? So he got together with some other people, including Dorothy Stillsmokin, and they conducted a survey interviewing elders and asking how many fluent speakers they still had, because they both realized that they were not taught the language when their grandparents did and their parents were. So this question, gathering elders together, brought some children together and started the dream of teaching children the language in efforts of revitalizing the language and giving something back to the community that's our own. And I think what people don't understand about learning a language is you learn a culture, you learn a whole world, a whole different view of the world. And for Native people, I think we're so disconnected in this country because of the efforts to the government to dehumanize us. And what the boarding schools took away from our people was not just language, it was our ability to self-identify and our ability to really produce any positive results, you know. So this school and this dream to learn a language is something that I credit all my successes to. I think it gave me self-identify. It made me be able to self-identify myself as a Amskapi Pikani and not just an American Indian or something that's taught. I started the school in the 4th grade. I started public school system K through 3, and like all the other Indian kids on a reservation, I learned about our great white fathers and Thanksgiving and everything like that. And I think I didn't feel the connection between that. And I remember when I first started the school, part of Daryl's theme was it's Kipitaki Pohka. It's a grandparents' home. And the students were like the grandchildren. And it was very family orientated. And that environment, I think, was so warming. And I think I was craving that connection. So I really enjoyed my time in Nitsi'powahsinksimsstaa, and I graduated in 8th grade to attend high school, after which I served in the United States Marine Corps and came back and worked around odd jobs and finally decided I should do something smart and get an education. So I started here in all the bonehead classes and general ed classes, being out of school for a long time. But seeing this university in the Native American Studies department was pretty awesome and amazing. You know, it's like a grandparent's home. But I noticed the one thing that was missing was language. You know, in an academic structure, we still are defined from the government's point of view of how to be Indian in a lot of cases. You know, we're still learning about Native Americanism from the outside of the box looking in. And I think the big thing that's missing is the language. Like I said, the language is tied so closely into our culture. We teach history, perspective, philosophy, religion, all in the English language. And one word in my language can explain perspective more than a semester in English, I believe. And it was my goal to have more language classes taught at the University of Montana. With Montana, there are 7 reservations and over 10 different tribes with 10 distinct languages. And this year, they didn't provide any language classes. Next year, they will have a Blackfoot language class. But the goal of my group that I helped form, Sacred Roots Society, is to incorporate language into the academic system here at the University of Montana. When I started at Cutswood Immersion School, they only had K through 3rd grade. And when I started in the 3rd grade, me and a few of my relatives and other kids, we told Daryl we wanted to continue. And so he extended the school and got more funding, and we started our classroom work in an abandoned house with the name of Itukskiteks, which means lost children. And it's an oral story in my culture of children who were left behind, who later found their people and helped them. And the Creator pitied these children and taught them that it's not right to leave children behind. So it was kind of ironic that our school and these older kids started with this name, Itukskiteks. So we consider ourselves the lost children who returned back with the language. Thinking in thinking in a native language has led me for a lot of opportunities in my life, you know. Recently I spoke for a wilderness conference, and they consider the knowledge of the language to be very environmentalistic, and it's very scientific, some of the descriptions of my language, you know. And when you understand things in a native language, you understand them in a different view. For example, the word mistaki for mountain means pushed up. It's explaining the evolution and creation of mountains, and you know, it's a more in-depth meaning of just mountain, and it gives another look at things. So when I explain people my language, I explain the science of the language and the verbal based and the knowledge that is there, you know, and really that's ultimately education in itself, you know. That's our power, is in our language, it's in our culture, and that's what we have to share. And I think it's our obligation to learn this and pass it on for our future generations, you know. As a parent, I always look for how I can make the world better for my child. And I think all the efforts in the language help to do that. And once again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming today. I'm going to wrap it up, because I'm getting nervous. Nitsi'powahsinksimsstaa. And I'll take some questions. I like to run off and run on.
Your hand was shaking.
Any questions about my hair?
Yeah, I got one.
Yeah.
When you were at the immersion school itself, what methods did you find were useful and worked, and what methods did you find were not useful and did not work?
Well, there's a lot of methods to teaching language, you know. I think a lot of academic structure likes to teach it like any other form of written language, which I think is a problem, due to the fact that it's an oral language and it needs to be spoken. I mean, I think the greatest method for children is just how any child learns language, by hearing it. One method that worked a lot for us was TPR, total physical response, being able to see something, touching something, and interacting with an object, you know. But the immersion school was just the intent of keeping the language 24/7, you know, and that's what really helped with learning. Daryl had one of the rules was Nitsi'powahsinksimsstaa, no speaking English in school. So the students would have to ask to use the restroom or drink water, all in the language. I think that really helped. As far as academic standards, I took a class on learning language from Dr. Graymorning, and I thought was very effective. He used no reading and no writing, and the teacher gave the whole talk or discussion in the language, and what he used was pictures, but he also incorporated the people to do verbal actions, so somewhat of a TPR response. But I would suggest with oral languages, trying to stay away from reading and writing, I think, because that's where people get caught up. I mean, I think that's more for advanced, but for basic elementary teaching, just hearing the language and being interactive with it is best. But that's just my personal opinion. Anybody else while I'm sitting in my nice chair? Yes.
So, how much did you learn while you were at the immersion school, and how much have you self-taught since then, or not self-taught, but like?
I make up words all the time. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I guess where would you gauge your fluency? Like, how proficient of a can you?
Well, that word fluency is always a sensitive topic people want to ask about. I would say a part of me learning so much was from the home environment as well. My mother kept a strong sense of keeping the language in home, and also my grandfather would speak to us a lot on the off time. And being involved with ceremonies and things, I had opportunities to pick up more and learn more outside the school. setting. I think that's key to learning the language. It's a community involvement as much as the school. You know, a student can only learn so much in the school, but if it's not retained in the home, it just stays in the school. You know, so I believe it's a community involvement that has to be in place in order for that proficiency of the language to keep hold. As far as myself, I consider myself capable of conversational and teaching elementary Blackfoot, but I'd still look to my elders for knowledge and words and phrases and things as such. So I wouldn't consider myself the fluent Blackfoot language speaker, if that makes sense. Any
How
other?
is the Cutswood School doing now? I've been here.
Yeah, I've heard different things. I know Darren Kip is the one running it now. I haven't spoken to him recently, but I'm pretty sure they're still active with not the grades to 8th, but I'm pretty sure they still have a kindergarten and first grade program. But
They still have a couple in eighth.
oh, okay,
They're still, yeah.
okay, yeah, I'm not sure, but Becky just recently visited there. Should be the one to ask.
Well, I think it's had success with you, sitting back here and watching you speak the language and, really makes me feel good about that language. I was part of that generation where, my father, never passed it, or his parents never passed it to him. And, my uncle's Darryl Kip's my uncle. And, unfortunately, I kind of bypassed on that, on learning the language. But I'm trying now, which is really hard.
It's never too late.
Yeah, it's way too late. Darryl, that was one of the things I remember Darryl doing when that school first started was, he went any place he could to learn that language.
Mm-hmm.
And he really did a successful job with it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're proud of that, so I'm proud of you and continue doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I'm getting time, so